And I'm live. That is pretty cool. Today is 9th of March 2026, Monday. And before beginning, a quote from Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Let's find a random short quote. Okay. Everything is only for a day, both that which remembers and that which is remembered. That is pretty helpful. Everything is only for a day, both that which remembers and that which is remembered. Yep, that is pretty cool. Living life one day at a time. And cool. So we can begin, and today we have to make the front end. Okay, another terminal is required here for the server back end, let's say. And what is this? 7,900 minus 1,000 minus 158, 7,900 and 7,800 minus 58, 7,742. Okay, gorgeous. And one run back to run the back end. And okay, I guess I should change the name. And this would be front end, and this would source front end one run white. This would run the front end server, and here we would have our log file. Cool. And let's see how it goes. Localhost, start a game. Cool, click, and we do have everything. We want to play a rapid game with a random color, increment 0. And on the back end, we also saw this message. Okay, now we have to make this UI interactive, like cool, so that we can make moves. Let's see. And I want to like change the color of these squares to match chess.com. Color picker. Shit, the good one. Shit, which one is the good one? Yep, I think this is the one. We can pick a color from here. Yep, cool. This is the one from your screen. This is one color, HSL, and let's copy the HSL. And for this color, we have copied this. We would like to store this as a CSS variable. It should be actually pretty cool. Source front end index.css root. Let's define another variable. If we have two roots, then I think it is like fine, no problem. Okay, how do we give comments in CSS? Share. How to give comments in CSS? Can we not give comments in CSS? We can, using this syntax. Okay. Cool. User defined, or like more like self defined variables. Self defined variables will come here, and one would be board white or board light. Of course it is color, so we don't have to say that it is color. Board light, and this thing equals this value, HSL value. This, and board dark would be pick from screen, this one. and I think we are cool. Light color and dark color. Okay, audio is cool and fine, cool. We have the light color and the dark color. And how do we define these colors to be accessible by Tailwind? I think we have to go to Tailwind config, which we do not have here. ChatGPT, how to add new colors in Tailwind config, and also from the Tailwind config new colors from the documentation. This is cool. In JavaScript, Tailwind config adding a simple color. Base structure is this. We do not have a Tailwind config, so we will have to create one. Tailwind.config.js. Paste all of this. Source content index.html. Okay, theme extend is an object which takes in colors. We give it a new color, brand, and now we can use bg brand, text brand, border brand. Okay, adding color shades, brand equal to some string. Okay, cool. Extend color and not these two. Board light, and the value is a CSS variable. How do we use a CSS variable? How do you use a CSS variable for defining some color? Cool. They have defined a color like this, just like this. Okay, inside the string we use this where. Not RGB, ours is not RGB. Tailwind config index.css, ours is HSL. HSL variable board light, and this one would be board dark. Cool, that looks cool. Import color from one. I think we should be able to use Tailwind, like these new colors in Tailwind. Restart dev server. Tailwind reads from config at build time. So after changing config, you control C npm run dev. Okay. And there was no problem with this running. There was no problem with this running. Cool. So let's see if these colors are available for us. Components UI, board, in the board, here, BG, board light should work, and BG board dark should also work. Board light and board dark. See, how do we see the board? We do not. We do see the board, but it is a bit messed up. Okay, shit. The board is a bit messed up. board light, board dark, and here also board light, board dark. HSL variable is this thing. Okay, I guess we don't have to use HSL here, maybe. Let's see, primary color is 3 values. Okay, I guess we didn't have to use HSL there. Variable primary color. Yeah, or maybe the way that we define these here is like this. And here we do use HSL, but like this. Cool. HSL variable and shit. Yes, also we don't use double hyphen where we just use var. Cool. I think that is cool. So use front end. Now how do we see the board? We still see the board in this bad shit. Okay. Lazy update. Source components board bg board dark is a text and not a color. Okay, board is not being read by tailwind somehow. Okay, so the mistake might be, okay, Harpoon does not have the files. Tailwind config. Okay, I guess this file is not being read. At the rate type import. Wait, what do we have to do with this? Define custom colors, right? And also import tailwind and bg color primary color text saffron 500 earlier. Okay, now we don't even have to use tailwind config, it seems. Okay, tailwind css v4. Okay, this is how we do things. Okay, inside we have to do themes and not tailwind config. Here we have to, okay, there is already a theme defined. Theme light, nope, theme, just theme, and then colors like this. Color board, light color board, dark, primary, and saffron. With HSL format. Like this. HSL. And okay, that might be good enough. run white here, and when config does not exist, and in components UI board, here we should be able to use the color board dark. Okay, board dark is there, and bg board light is also there. And no, we do not see it here, even though board dark and board light, they do have correct values. Why don't we see these colors? Board dark, board light, width, height, flex, justify, cool. We have the size and everything. Piece size equals not 45, equals cell size, let's say. Justify center. Okay, we should be able to see the colors, but we are not seeing the colors here. There is some problem with. And why do we see these lines? That okay, we see these lines because those pieces are empty. Those places are empty, so we have to change here empty square. Empty square is rectangle width and height, like this. Stroke fill none, stroke 0 0, stroke width, we can make a stroke width equals 0. Cool. I think that should at least remove the lines. Yep, the lines are removed, but we do not see the colors, which is bad. We should be seeing the colors in the background. Okay, HSL, these are the colors. HSL. Components UI here. Okay. Inspect. What is, let's say, the color of this component? How do you find the color? Color is color background. Okay, there is no color property to this thing. Okay, there is no color property being added to this. Why? Background color equals this color board light, which has the HSL value this. So why don't we see this thing here? Styles. Okay, here. Background is white. Background is white. Yes, background is white. Background is white. Background color, yes, background is white. Background is not changing. So I guess there is a problem with the format of the color. Pick from the screen this color. If we use hex value for this color, instead of this. And also for the light color, pick from screen, copy. Guten Morgen, hello. This now maybe we will see the colors. And we do. Cool. Shit. Yes. Cool. So there was a problem with how we were defining the colors. So how to define HSL colors in CSS, HSL, and the three values. So okay, it works like this, but it was not selector HSL. It also takes a alpha value, but it seems to be optional. So why was HSL not working? Don't know. Maybe Tailwind does not work with HSL. So okay, so we have to use either the normal hash value like this RGB value, or okay LCH color value. Can we have okay LCH color value? We cannot. We do have HSL, but we do not have okay HCL. Okay LCH. Okay, cool, fine. Okay, so we have this. Now we also want to add like a little bit of styling to this thing. That would be a bit cool to the board. This is the board. Let's give this thing a roundness, and overflow, hidden, and okay, nothing. Overflow, clip. Okay, roundness is not working because we have not given this thing border, I guess. Okay, now this thing does have border. Okay, the problem is roundness is there, but the element is like stretches. So we will have another div inside which this external div is this external div exists. Okay, yep, and the height and width. Okay, we have given the height and width for this div, so why was this like too bigger than it should be? Items center, justify content. Yep, we have like explicitly given what the width of this thing should be. If we make this thing 0, then okay, still we do have elements here, so width is not working somehow. Cell size into 8, or if we were to like manually say here 0 pixels. Okay, shit, this thing still does not work. Or after this, let's say width is 0, w0. Now it is 0. Okay, so this width is not being read. Okay, Tailwind, how to give custom width in Tailwind. Let's see. Custom values, using custom values inside these brackets, it seems. Okay, so this has to come inside these. Also the pixel, I think, should come inside the brackets. Okay, and shit, the width is still like not what we wanted. Pixels. width. These are all the values you could give, or custom property or custom value. Example of custom value would look like using container, scale, screen, full, like this. Okay, and this is exactly what we are doing, but okay, we are not saying anything. 5 pixels width and some amount of pixels. Name width full, height full, flex and stuff, and cool. Now there is this roundedness. That is very cool. That is very cool. Width full. Height should not be full. Height should just be whatever it is. Height. Yes, height should just be whatever it is. Yep. And cell size, we want cell size to change according to the screen size. According to the screen size. If a screen is like very big, then this should take, I guess, 75% would be cool. And if its screen size is quite small, then 90% of the width, 90 or 95% of the width. Okay, how to get window size in React as a JavaScript variable. Use window function, use window, use state, window, use effect, handle resize. When the size of the window changes, window size, window, return window. We can make a custom hook. Okay, and what function are we calling? Set window size. This thing has a width and a height. Okay, handle resize is the function. Window dot add event listener, handle resize, and then we call handle resize. Handle resize just sets the things. Initial set, return window dot remove listener. See, example, no, not like this. Use window dimensions. For React Native, nope. Get window width in React. Just that we do not want any window changing. Const window size equal, no, not like this. Handle resize, add event listener. Handle resize is internally getting window. Where do we have window? Window, what is this window variable? Set window height and width to the state. What is window here? Resize, when window resizes. Okay, so we can just do window dot inner width or something. Okay, inner width. Read only property returns the interior width of the window in pixels. That is the width of the layouts viewpoint. Cool. Now if, let this if window width if window width, how many pixels? Let's see. What is the pixel value of stuff? This is 400 pixels. Okay, at about 500 pixels like this, we would like the board to take up like 90% of the size. If window width is smaller than equal to 500, then size of each cell would be window width divided by multiply by 0.9, that is the size of the whole board, divided by 8. Else cell size would be not 90% but 70% of the screen. Let's see. Okay, right now it is 90% and here it is 75%. Shit, 75% is quite big. 70% is quite big. What about 60%? It is still quite big, and now it seems okay. 50% seems okay. And if we reduce the size, refresh, now it is cool. Yes, we just have to like refresh. So yeah, that is kind of one downside, but that's cool. Okay, now we can actually work on making the moves happen. About rounded Excel, that is cool. Okay, now what we need to know, let's give this thing an ID. Maybe that might be required. We will call this thing the board. How we have to now put logic. Shit. Okay, what we want, this board component has to do quite a few things. Let's make a git commit before we mess anything up. Git status, that is quite a lot of things changed. Feature board shows push. Okay, what do we want? Let's go to log and log stuff. Today is 8. Shit, today is 9. Yesterday was 8. Okay, board. The board has to first of all display the board. Board has to display the current board, and second would be allows user to, and how do I turn off Copilot here? Copilot disabled, allows user to make a move, which means that user can pick up a piece and move it around and put the piece down, pick up a piece by left click, hold and put down the piece by releasing left click. By releasing left click, they put down the piece, and then the move is validated, and if correct, then two things happen. One is move is sent to the backend through the socket, and move is shown on the board. I think we can first show the move on the board because the move is valid, so there would not be any problem, and then the backend, then we can tell the backend what the move was. So these are the two things. So for showing the move on the board, we already have the board object, so that is not very difficult. Like here, we already have the board object, so that is not very difficult. We can just update this. And for making the move, we have to make the move from here. We need validation function. We can validate right here in this place, in this component itself. That would be cool. And then to make the call, and to tell the backend that a move has been made, we can hello India. Yes, India did one. So we need to make the piece draggable. Yep, there is a draggable property as well. Wait, there is a draggable property. What I was thinking was I would look at the location of the mouse. Div shit. Okay, if I here do okay, maybe not here, but on this span, draggable equals true. Okay, maybe like this. Okay, that is something. Okay, draggable. But no, uh, the thing should also remain. The piece should be lifted up from the square. We need a little bit more control than this. There is draggable property. Yep, we need. This is cool. This is cool, but we more need a little bit more control here. In chess.com, when we make a move, puzzle train analysis. When look at this, when I click on a piece, it goes away like chess.com knows which thing is selected. Okay, so before making the piece move, let's make this animation. That is, whenever I move my this mouse pointer cursor to some cell, its border changes. So its border changes. We can use hover, but that would be the easy way out. We also need to know which cell we are in. So we need to put IDs on these cells and also know the location of the mouse relative to the board to find out which cell we currently are in, so that we can change that cell directly. Or is there something else we can do? Is that is what we do? Yep, hover effect, but we need to know which cell we are in. Hover effect is a local effect, like hover effect. Let's hover shit. This comes inside here. Yep. Hover on hover. Let's say change the background to the opposite to whatever it is normally. Let's say this same thing, copy, paste here, and code dark, and this becomes light, and shit. Okay, shit. Hover is not working. Oh, hmm, 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 class name hover, do this, and normally do that. Okay, shit. Hover has to come later on. Makes sense. Hover comes here. Cool. And okay, shit. Still nothing. Hmm. 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 Okay, there is some problem. Hover should at least be working like this. Hover. Hmm. Normally this is the background, and when someone is hovering, then change the background to the opposite color. Let's say on hover, change the BG to always amber 50. Okay, right. Yep, this is cool. But we want more control than this. Hover is cool. We need more control. How do we get the coordinates? We can get the coordinates of the mouse. Let's see, we need to find the coordinates of the mouse, and then the coordinate of this board component, the top left coordinate of this board component, so that we can take the difference and find out the relative coordinate of the mouse. That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool, actually. Find mouse coordinates, react, use mouse position inside global mouse tracker, use state, use effect. Initially is 00. Add we window mouse move and update mouse position ev event dot client x, event dot client x. But this would mean, shit, empty dependency, this once on, and this only runs once on mount. Return. Okay, share. Okay, this makes sense. This makes sense. When this use effect runs, we add a event listener which does this, and when this component exits, we remove that event listener. The return function, the return value of this function runs when the component exits. Cool. Global mouse tracker. Okay. Import use effect, use effect. EV has type any. It should not have type any. Wait, what is the type of event listener? Event listener wants the second thing, function. EV is mouse event. EV has the type mouse event. Did you mean? Yes, I did mean mouse event with capital M. Mouse position is not being used ever. That is fine. Console dot log mouse position. Let's see if we do see mouse position being printed. Console.log 00, and okay, we are not printing it again and again, which is fine, yes, like of course it is fine. I think if we put this here, or we maybe just put it here, span both the mouse positions. Okay, shit, that is very cool. Okay, top left is 00. That is cool. Top left is 00. And if okay, now it is not tracking mouse movement, only click movement. 100%. Now it is tracking mouse movement. When I come inside, okay, this is about 1000, 1024, and now it is bigger. Okay. If I scroll, okay, cool, it was changing. So cool, cool. We are able to get the mouse coordinates. That is cool. Get of component on screen react. Use effect, use state, store it inside the state component ref. Use ref dot current dot get bounding use ref. Okay, I guess use ref bounds itself to the current component, or we do have to say ref is component ref. Okay, let's say const board ref equals use ref html div element initially null cannot find name user ref. You will find name user ref. Okay, board is declared but never used. That is completely fine. So we do not have to give an id here. We can just say ref equals board ref. That works. Okay, board ref. We can, okay, const board position set board position initially 0 0. Update mouse position, const update board position. Copilot actually is pretty cool. This is declared but never used. Run this function if board ref dot current. If there is something, then current dot get bound client rectangle and set the positions equal to this distance from the left, which is rect dot left, I think, and distance from the top, which is y. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Right, and then window dot add event listener, set coordinates. I guess the board does not move, so that is cool. Use useref to avoid re-renders. Yep, useref is cool. I think we can use this thing here. We don't have to define it externally. Board position. Whenever the mouse moves, get the position of the board, get the position of the mouse. And I think we don't even have to store these two things separately. We can just say relative mouse position, set relative mouse positions. Do not set mouse positions, just say const mouse position x is this, y is this, and then const inside this board x equals rectangle left, board y equals this, set relative mouse position, and let's print the relative mouse positions here instead of this. Relative x, relative y. Okay, and this thing is almost 0 0, kind of. Yep, this is 0 0, this is 0 0. Cool, cool. So we can now figure out now where do we share. I think in this event listener itself. Yep, we have to make the change in this event listener itself. I think that would be cool. Inside this event listener, we will have to give ID to each of these blocks so that we can get to them when we want. And what should be the ID? They're just their coordinates would be cool. These spans, each of the span, yep, ID equals not this. Shit. ID would be row column, no, cell, row and cell. So now each of these things should have an ID, which would be cool. Each child should have a unique key property inside board. This thing does have unique key property, I guess. ID should key equals row is cool, and here also we have to give key, I think. Yep, we do have to give key inside there also. Key equals okay, that is some error. Shit. Encounter children with the same key. Okay, children have same keys. That is bad. In this we have this, inside which we have this, inside which we have rows, inside which we have, okay, that is a bit messed up because we are not iterating through indexes. Shit. Yep, makes so much sense. Row I instead of this. Row I, like row index, and then cell I with a single cell somehow. Column I, and okay, now I think we are happy in here in the board, right? For each row ID, yes, we also have to change the ID. We changed the key. Row I, column I, and okay, row I, column I. Okay, do we have it? Yep, cool. ID is cool. 000102 till 07, and on the next row it begins from 1011. Cool. So we do have the ID. That is very cool. We do have the ID. Now after getting these positions, we do not even have to store the, we do have to store the positions. We do have to store the positions. Do we have to store the positions in this element like this? In user state, because we are always calculating the position here on the fly, which means do we want a re-render of the board every time that the mouse is moving? I do not think so. So we don't even have to store the thing here. We can just calculate it on the fly. Relative mouse X, relative mouse Y. Okay, when we have this, console.log mouse position, go to console and uncaught reference error. Yep, look at this. Whenever the mouse moves, we get new positions, which is pretty cool. In here, we are getting negative positions. Cool. So let's, instead of positions, cell. Let's print the cell. Alright, let's say const row equals. I want to stop Copilot for a while. Copilot disable. Okay. Row would be equal to row means vertically from the top down where we are, for which we have to look at relative y divided by cell size, that would be our row, and math dot absolute value and also floor. Math dot floor. Cell would be row space column. Column would be same thing except of relative y we use relative x here and column. In console we do not see this. Okay, this is 5 4 from the top. If we go to the left, we should see the same row 5 and the left column 3 5 3. We do see 5 3. Cool, cool. That is very cool. That is very cool. Let's, instead of this, have row and column as state variables. No. Yes, let's do have them. Let c row equals, initially let's say 0, and let current column also equals 0, and after getting these we will compare. If row is not equal to 0 or the column changed, or current column is not equal to current column, first of all let's just console.log row and column and also update. C row would become equal to row and C column would become equal to the new column. So we should only see things printing when, yes, we only see things printing when we change our column, which is very, very cool. Which is very, very cool. Actually pretty cool. We need separate state to show dragged piece in UI and hide in original position. Separate state. I don't think we have to keep the state. We can, like, using the ID of the element, we have to change first of all the square, remove the piece from that thing, and by finding the ID, since every square span has a ID label, we can find that square and make the internal child of that thing disappear. So this thing would go away. And second would be to make the piece appear at the mouse position, which also we can do, I think, using a event listener, because we need to show it being held by mouse. Yep, we need to show. So state, I think we can use a event listener. Listener is cool because I do not want to use state. But you are saying we should use state just to make the differentiation between two states. One state would be nothing being picked up, and the other state would be something being picked up. If that is what you are saying, then that is cool. Yep, because in that state, in that case, the use state variable would only change. The use state variable would only change like when we have picked the when we are going from not picking a piece to picking a piece and vice versa. And also we should not do maths.apps. That is error. We should see negative values. We do not see negative values. Okay, shit. Okay, we do not see negative values. That is messed up. Okay, when now shit. We can have an event listener for add event listener to window object, clean up event listeners, add event listener to mouse being clicked, dot add event listener to mouse click, and then a function. And the mouse click, which will be defined here. Function to handle mouse being clicked, handle mouse click. This takes in ev mouse event. Hopefully ev is declared but its value is never used. Console.log or if ev dot left click type detail button dot could you have made the board static and then render the piece on it instead of using whole cell to render on it? Like currently you drag, then the whole cell is dragged instead of that piece. Yes, because right now, I mean, yes, the draggable thing I will not be using draggable because I also want to make the thing disappear, like the piece from its original place disappear. I think I can put draggable equal to true. In here inside every component we can go to, let's say, the black pawn, and inside where is the style? This thing does not have a style somehow. Class name equals guess SVG does not have a draggable attribute. It has on drag, which can have string is not assignable to type drag event. Okay, but yep, we will not be using drag. We will be using this thing, event listeners, because we want a bit more control than dragging. Shade. This is not giving like negative values. This should be giving negative values here. Yep, this should be giving negative values. This is not giving negative values. It's bad. Mouse movement, mouse event, console.log, add event listener, and also here window dot remove event listener, click, handle, mouse click. Okay, whenever I click, there is this thing. Okay, that is cool. Point event. Pointer type. Can we see target is something? Can we see which thing was clicked? Type is click X and Y. The okay, this will be necessary. This will be cool, important. X and Y. We can use these X and Y to figure out which place is being clicked, which square is being clicked. But we do not know the type of click. Get the mouse click on NJS. Mouse clicking, event listener, click, yes, button was clicked, but which display message to the entire document? Okay, shit, that makes more sense. We can add this event listener not to the whole window, but specifically to this board component, which is cool. Yes, that is what we want, to the board component. The click and hold thing. This board. Board here. Document dot get element by ID, get the board, and here board dot yeah, possibly null if board should be there. Board should be there. Now if here I click outside the board, nothing happens. If I click inside the board, I do see this. But the thing is, shit, this is being run twice, which is a bit sad. And also this thing runs when I let go of the click. So instead of click, this should say mouse down or something. Okay, what are the events? Drag is an event. No, we want for click or press to mouse down. Okay, mouse down is a thing. Add event listener, mouse down, mouse down, and mouse down. Cool. So here, click. When I do mouse down, I do see this, but this comes twice. Why is it running twice? It is because probably because of strict mode, because of this. Okay, shit. Yep, now it only comes once. Cool, that is cool. Yep, mouse up and mouse down. So when mouse goes down, we do, what do we do? When mouse goes down, handle mouse click. Instead of this, we find out ev dot, and also what was the like button which was pressed. Event dot button. Okay, if first of all we will check the button. Okay, if event dot button is a number, left click button value event listener, left button was clicked, query selector, mouse down, event is 0 left button, 1 middle button, 2 right button. Oh, okay, why is this like arbitrary? 1 is left button. Okay, if the left button is held down while moving the mouse, event dot buttons, and using event dot button. Okay, that is a bit messed up. If we use event dot buttons, it starts with 1 as the left button. If we use event dot button, it starts 0 as the left button. That is messed up. Yep, I don't know how, why, what, but shit, that is a bit arbitrary. Button, the button property, read-only property indicates which button was pressed, and buttons, read-only property indicates which buttons are pressed. If multiple buttons are pressed, we do not care about multiple. Okay, yes, that is shit. I didn't even thought. Uh, we will only play the move if only a single button is pressed, and not all of them. Shit. Yep, here also. If I'm pressing multiple buttons, then nothing happens. Cool. Button equals 0 console.log left button is pressed down, and I think you were correct. We will have to keep this in a state variable so that we re-render the whole. yep, we have to keep something in state. Const square set square equals to state of string initially empty. Okay, when a button is pressed, we will find out its coordinates. uh, yep, we will find out its coordinates and change it. A string or null. Initially it is null. Cool. If a button is pressed and it is the left button, then we will okay, we have to find out the coordinates. Okay, let's should we just use this whole thing? Yes, we just use this whole thing. Same thing here. Okay, handle mouse click. Okay, we'll get the mouse position and board current. Yeah, that's something we have to check. Then board, we will get the board positions, then relative x and y and row. Okay, and set square to row, current row, and comma current column. And we need a little helper function here just in case. We can define it inside utilities export board square index key. Yes, square index to key equals, this takes in two numbers, row which is number and column which is also a number, and return row and column. And why am I like defining this one line function? Because if I ever change this in the future, I do not have to change it in multiple places. Is dragged instead of, yes, that is one I need to keep. Yes, is dragged state is required, and also which square was the on which square did I click. And here I am using the null value as an indicator if a thing was clicked or not. If this square thing, if it is null, then nothing is being dragged, and if it is not null, then something is being dragged. I think that is cool. Const square key to index, this takes in s or key string and returns key 0, parse number, index equals parse int the key. And we are just supposing that this thing works, that we are always going to call this square key to index function with the correct values. Okay, then index, the row is going to be at the tens place, so absolute, not absolute, floor of index divided by 10 comma math dot floor. We don't need floor. Remainder. For remainder we can use here index remainder. How do we find remainder? Modulus. Mod operator in division. Okay. Convert square index to key to store in state, and here convert state key back to index to access the square. Remove CSS. Cool. And here we were giving keys at not key but id to each span here. So instead of this we should be calling the function, which should be pretty cool. Square index 2 key. First thing is row I, second thing is column I. And ID should also be the same thing. Delete. Okay. Square index key row I to column ID. That looks good enough. Initial position and final position to move between positions. Initial position and final. Yes, final. We right. We will add an event listener to mouse down, and there before we run any logic, we have to know were we in a draggable state, right? That is the first thing. And then second, if we were in a dragging state, then what is the current square right now, like which place we are at right now. And if to get the target square, then we can validate the move right there. And if the move is cool, if we can make this move, then we will update the move on the board and also send the request to the back. That would be cool. Okay. When the mouse goes down, handle mouse click. Here we got the positions, set square, shit, square index to key row, current row, current. I don't think we need these. We can just use row and column, row and column. And for the hover effect, yes, we will use the hover effect, but we will only use the hover effect if the mouse is in a draggable state, right? That would be cool. If the mouse is in a dragging state, only then do the hover effect. Cool. Here hover is here. Cool. So like this, depending on what was the name of the variable, square. Mouse is not equal to null. If mouse is not equal to null, then do the hover thing find mouse, because yes, mouse does not exist. Square is a thing that exists. If this, then this, otherwise empty string. Cool. And now we do not see the hover effect, but we only see the hover effect if I click something. Okay, shit. But we also have to change it when we do press down. Mouse up. Handle, mouse down. Substitute, mouse, click, click with mouse down. Cool. If mouse down, do these things, set the square, and also make, yes, find out the piece. If there is a piece in that location, yes, shade. After finding out this thing, we have to get the piece. Piece equals board bracket row bracket column, implicitly has type any shit. Treat this thing as a row, which we cannot somehow. Board is itself possibly null. It is not null, it is like a legit board. Board ref might be null, but board is not null. Board type, is board type null at times? Board type does not seem to be null ever. As board type, and shit, piece is declared, but that is fine. Board is possibly null. Board conversion of XP. Shit, okay, we have two boards to refer to. Get element by ID. Okay. In here we are getting this board. Board element. Dude, element. Piece equals board row and column piece is declared. Okay, if okay, after this piece we have to get, we will check if piece is not equal to pieces dot nn. First of all, like piece should not be equal to empty, and then const not empty, and then const same color equals piece. Piece color map, give it the piece shit expression not callable. Of course it's we have to do dot get piece if this thing equals shade. How do we get the color? We also need the color. Cool, makes sense. We also need the color. Apart from the board, we need the color. And here, color is of type color as a type. Shit. Type color as colors. And what color is declared but never used, that is fine. This thing is not equal to this thing equals color. Now if not empty and the color is same, if not empty and the color is same, set square equal to square index to key, pass in the row, pass in the column. Okay, pass in the row, pass in the column. On mouse down, find if the piece clicked should be of the same color. That is like the first thing. Wait, remove all this. Piece clicked should have the same color and should have the same color. This is going to be checked, and what is going to be done? Put that piece at mouse location. Put that piece at mouse location and remove or hide the piece from the source location, like from the source location. On mouse down, and then on mouse up, on mouse up, if piece was being dragged, this is what we have to check, and current mouse position is inside the board, then get the target square and validate the move. Now if validated, if legit move, if the move is legit, then update the board first thing and tell the backend. If not legit, if the move is not legit, then just if the move is not legit, then put piece back on the original square. And the things which we have to do in both the cases is remove drag state and remove piece from cursor. Okay, remove drag state and remove piece from cursor. Insert position between, yes, should we are seeing now negative numbers, which is cool, if not empty. And this, okay, what we have to do is put piece down here, piece clicks should have the same color. Yes, put that piece at mouse location. Okay, we have to put this piece at the mouse location. which means we have to attach. Yes, which means we will always here have span, let's say. We'll call this id is mousepiece, not a mouthpiece but a mousepiece. And initially class name equals hidden, or hidden equals true string is not assignable to type, boolean or undefined. Okay, boolean, boolean should work. Class name equals hidden. And we also have to change the inner HTML. Okay, now what we want is we have a component. How to change, shit, I think we can use state inside this. Yes, we can use a separate component here. Mouse piece draggable dot tsx const or export const mouse piece draggable. This thing takes in a few things: visibility and the piece, and the type of visible is boolean, and the type of piece is a react component. React component whose type is this react fc with a size is cool. React fc with a size. That works. All destructor elements are unused. Destructure elements are unused. Okay, and at the end return piece, capital piece, return piece with size, let's say 45, always 45, and visible depending. If visible, then return the piece, else return empty. Here we can use the same thing and does not even matter where we are putting it. Mouse piece draggable visible equals this thing actually depends. Visible equals if square is not if square equal is not equals null, then visible is true, otherwise it is false. Piece is missing. Okay, shit. Yes, we also have to pass in piece. Piece. Shit. Piece equals shit. I don't think we should store the piece here. Here, const piece equals null. Initially, the type of this piece is going to be either null or the piece. And what is the type of piece? Type of piece is a React element. This. Cool. Initially it is equal to null, but then it changes slowly. Piece is declared but never used. That is completely fine, no problem. Log row and column, and here for piece, if piece is not equal to null, or I think we can just do piece if not equal to null, then piece. But okay, we also have to make sure here that this piece either is a piece or null. If visible, so we don't even have to take visible, we can just take the piece. If piece, cool, that is much better. We can remove visible, just pass in piece. Shit. P type piece null is not assignable to type piece. Null is not assignable to intrinsic type number, undefined, or null. Property piece does not exist on intrinsic attribute. The type of this thing piece is null or this, which is a React component. Null, and let's use the exact same type in the definition here. Type of piece is this, which should be working, but it is not. Still we are getting error. Okay, there's some problem. Hello, long time no see. Look at this, what we have. Like it is not working right now, but it is very cool, believe me, trust me, bro. I guess the problem is that this is always null. Okay, after this, we have to set the piece, the square piece to something. We use to piece equals get square is already there. We just need to go to the board and board. So we already have the piece like right here. Uh, piece component. Yes, piece component. That looks much better. From the piece, get the piece component. Piece component equals piece components bracket piece. Cool. Still we have some error here, which is very bad. Fine. Piece component. Okay. Piece null is not assignable to type this. Piece null. Piece component they are saying is always null, but it is not always null. Let's see. ChatGPT. I am calling this component like this, where the signature is this, and the variable is this, but I am getting type error for piece. Your problem is simply a prop name mismatch. Oh shit. Okay, that is very sad. Okay, shit. This thing I guess is capital P. Okay. That was the problem, and we should be seeing random is not a color. Makes sense. Random is not a color. Start. Let's say white is our color. Yes, we have to give in the color to whoever is calling this, and the one calling this is in here. Cool. This thing also needs the color. Color equals a JavaScript variable which is game.color. Null, it would be null. If this thing exists, then give this, otherwise give color dot white. I think would be cool for now. Put color as colors. Okay, there is a problem. the board. Color, where are we comparing the color? If this thing does come true, we are set state is set square is changing. I guess we are not using square in here ever. We're using piece component, which depends on a square but is not the square. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. If I have a hidden equals true span here, and internally I here use what does that look like? Console.log piece. Okay, piece is nothing. Piece. Okay, piece was not printed. Look here. Okay, shit. Look here is never being printed. So what is the problem? Look for this thing. Hover effect should be there if square is not equal to null. Then there should be hover effect. So square is changing from null to something else. So this line is being called, but okay, we do not see console.log ever, which is messed up. Let's add an event listener. Const board element here, board element dot add event listener to mouse up, handle mouse up, and here if board element board element mouse up, remove event listener. Mouse up is not defined, that is fine. Handle what happens when mouse click is unclicked. Handle mouse up, and this takes in an event called mouse event and does something. This will see first of all if square was not equal to null, if the something was clicked. Const is piece dragged equals square not equals null, and is piece dragged, then set square ev is declared but never used. Log ev, let's say. Okay, handle mouse. Okay, some spelling mistake. Mouse up. Okay. console.log not empty and same color false, not empty, not empty is false. Okay, not empty is now true, and here both are true, and WP was printed. That is very cool. That is very cool. That is very cool. Look here, and the piece was printed. Right, so we should be getting piece component here. We are also doing set square, also cool piece component, piece component. Let's make this thing also. Wait, what? Where are we? Here, mouse draggable. With this thing, then console.log piece, and with this, then no piece was printed. No piece. Why are we always getting no piece? No piece makes sense. Okay, why is it always null? We are updating the piece here. Console.log piece component. We do see something there. Okay, that is like very cool. We do see something. So why is it not going to the right place? A peculiarity of React. I think if we change this thing here, maybe we will be good. Now, nothing, no piece, still no piece. Let's use a state variable in that case. Const piece component dot set piece component equals use state. The type of use state is just this thing. And initially it's null cool, and here instead of this we'll do set piece component. Okay, and maybe now still okay. Uncaught type error assignment to constant. Who is assigning to constant variable? Piece equals piece component. Nope, that is not the case. Assignment to constant variable. Assignment to constant variable. Piece component. Set piece component. Initially this is equal to null. Okay, look here, WP and null. Piece component is null. Piece components, piece set square is right, but set piece component is not, right? Call the set piece component with the correct value. Hmm. Okay, an error occurred in board reading size. Okay, cannot read all properties of null. Reading size, which was being done inside pieces line 68 here. White pawn. Okay, so white pawn was called. White pawn was called, but we didn't send in anything. Size equals 45. Console.log piece. Do we see piece there? We see no piece. We see look here WP and then null. So piece is null. We are sending null. Then y is white pawn rendering. Why is white pawn rendering? Piece component. Why are we rendering white pawn? Why are we rendering white pawn? Piece components piece. Okay, still shit. Uh, piece component is null. Piece component. Piece components. Cool. Piece components. Piece component. Piece component. Okay, that is fine. And where is square? If square is not equal to null, then do something. Yes, makes sense. If piece dragged, then on mouse click, do some thing. Set this equal to null and set piece component equal to null. Console.log ev that, like, yes, we are not even doing anything with that. Const new piece component equals piece components piece, and here console.log new piece component, and here give new component. Yep, we are getting the piece component, but then we are getting error. Okay, why are we are trying to read properties of null when we are calling white pawn? And why are we calling even in the middle? Cool. Why are we calling white pawn? New piece is getting like there correctly. We are also updating the pieces correctly. Then why are we calling white pawn? I guess we don't have any, we don't need this first of all. And second, just pass in the piece component, and if piece component is not equal to null, and still shit, we are getting piece or no piece. Console.log, look here, console.log, piece. Okay, let's print the piece. Look here, piece is null, and look here, WP, but we do not see piece null. Okay, so the error is before we call this thing. Use state react fc react function component that takes in size, that must take in size, reading property of null. Why? Who is reading property of null? Game main.txt. Inside from there we go to board line 11, this thing, and we are making it equal to null. Fine, no problem with that. And then yes, here why this error? Cannot read properties of null reading size. Cannot read properties of null reading size with white font. Now do we see white king now? White king, we do see white king now. Okay. Something is calling the function. Something is calling the function, new piece. Yep, console.log, new piece component. New piece component is a function which, yes, has this definition. Yep, this is the definition. This is the definition of the function. Then something is calling this function. Hello, that's why. What is your opinion on MIT, Jaipur, Bangalore, or Manipur? Type shit. Shit. Thank you for that. But shit, I don't know. MIT. I also go to MIT. MIT Meerut. But I don't know about these colleges. I guess they are good. Okay, shit. Which some component is giving error. Something is calling this set piece component function. Something is calling this new piece component. Console.log. Okay, let's do square piece component. Just print the piece component wherever. That is messed up. That is messed up. And let's make this. Yes, now much better. Piece component. Something. Okay, let's make this thing not a variable. Let's make this thing not a variable, and inside this we will give a function which has access to the board, which will get the piece component. Can we define a function inside here? That would be kind of crazy. Const get piece component equals, this takes in uh, location, which is a string, and yeah, does the magic location stick. Okay, that is cool. That is cool. Not console.log, but we have to get row and column would be equal to if square is not equal to null, then do this, else return null. If square is not equal to null, then square key to index given square row is declared. Okay, that's fine. Right, then const piece equals board row column, get the piece, const, and then we can just return piece components piece. That is cool. We are not even using location, which is right, we don't need location. Get piece component. Yes, here we will call get piece component. How is that? Okay, shit. Okay, we do get the piece there, that which is like very cool. Which is very cool. Which is very cool. We also need a re-render of this thing. We need a re-render. We want this function to run again. We want again span hidden equals true. Internally this will have the square. I shared hidden string true and cool. Shit, we are getting the piece, but why is the piece there? That is a bit messed up. And also on mouse up, the piece should disappear. On mouse up, console.log ev set square equals to null. Let's say hidden as false, right? When square changes to null, handle mouse up. We don't see a handle mouse up being handled. Yes, handle mouse up is not working correctly. Is piece dragged if square is not equal to null? Log is piece dragged. False, piece is not dragged somehow. Okay, do not console dot log these things, not in this. False, piece was not being dragged, you say, even though it is being dragged. Square, why is square equal to null? Console.log square null null square is equal to null. Why is square equal to null even though we are doing set square here? Which square is this? String or null? Cool. This is the right square. This is the right square. I think we should define this function outside use effect. Probably. No, shit. The problem here is closure. Closure. Yep. Closure. Closure. But I think now it should be fixed. Maybe. Nope, it is not fixed. So when we are defining this function, we are internally here using the value of this square. And when the function was defined, we got initially square was equal to null. That is what value of square we are always using, no matter when the function is being called, even though currently the value of square might have changed to something that is not null. So that is crazy. We want to use the current value of null. Internally, we want to use the current value of null. We want to use the current value of null. We want to use the current value of null. Which means we have to pass shade. Yes. We need a wrapper function around this string. Yes. Cool. Makes so much sense. We need a wrapper function around this. Okay, let's say this thing will take in this event and square thing, which is a string or null, and here const handle mouse up wrapper, and this thing takes in ev mouse event and returns this function. Cool. Wait, yep. Handle mouse wrapper and calls this with the returns this function and not this. Oh shit, no. This doesn't even take this. This will also take in the square. No, this will not take in the square. Okay, this defines this function. Handle mouse up equals this function is defined. Shit, a wrapper function would not work. No, a wrapper function would work. A wrapper function would actually work. Yes, a wrapper function would actually work here. String or null. And do not do this. Return this function here, and this square now is this square. Cool. And here, instead of substitute handle mouse up, substitute this with handle mouse up wrapper. Call this in place with the current value of square. And shit, I messed up with the name. Handle mouse wrapper. Okay, this also takes an ev, the event. Makes sense. Substitute wrapper this with wrapper ev dot. Ev does not exist. Yes, ev does not exist. Makes sense. Substitute ev, substitute ev comma with nothingness, and here remove ev from the definition, and we are cool, I think. Nope, we are not cool. We are not cool. We still get here false or null. On mouse up, we are still getting false or null. Why are we still getting false or null? Because yes, because add event listener should get the current value of square and not the old value of square. Shit. Add event listener should get the current value of square and not the old value of square. Type shit. And I think this is a very common problem. So there must be a solution. I do not want to look it up right now. I want to think about the solution on my own. Handle mouse being clicked. Okay. And the problem is just this, that when we are calling, when we are telling board element to add this event listener to itself, we are giving it this function which must run at that time. And this function is accessing this square variable, and we want this square variable to have the latest value when it runs, in the latest value of square when it runs. And this is using closure shade. Okay, let's ask ChatGPT to fix this. In my React component, I have a use state variable and also use effect. Okay. And I have defined an event listener on some element and given it some given it some handler function, and that handler function is using the variable defined by use state. And because of closure, the uh, the value for that variable is not updating, is not the is not current, is not the current value, but the value it had when the handler function was defined. How do I fix this? You have run into one of the most yes, I thought this was a like common thing. In React, every render creates a new variable, but your event listener keeps the old function which captured the old state value. So the handler sees the value from the render when the listener was created, not the latest one. Yep. Solution one, ref. We can use a ref count. Most common fix, use ref. I don't know what use ref is, but let's see. Use ref dot current equals count. Useref takes in a variable and okay, how do we access this? Console.log useref.current and we have a separate use effect which runs whenever this updates. That is very cool. That is very cool. That is very cool. That is actually pretty cool. Okay. That is cool shit. And we can save quite a few things. Yes, const. What was the name here? They use counterf. Okay, I was looking at for the convention which is used to name stuff here. Okay, piece component ref equals use ref where the type is react.fc and shit. I will have to look it up. What's the type? Mouse piece draggable. The type is this react.fc till the null part. paste, and we are cool. And this takes initially is null. The value initially the value is null. Get piece component, we don't need to use this. We don't need to use this. We don't even need to use this function now. We can hopefully here use piece component ref dot current. Okay, piece component ref dot current yes, and here if is piece dragged, then this is for mouse up. Here const new piece piece component equals piece components for this piece, and piece component dot ref dot current equals piece component piece components for this piece. Okay, now we might actually be cooking. Let's see. Wait, what? Okay, no, we are not cooking. We are not actually cooking. Shit. Yes, of shit. Here we do not have to. We are using square here. We are using a square here. We do need to know square. We do not need to know piece, but it would be cool to know the piece. Do we create a new use ref for the square? Is yes, there is no way, no other way. Yeah, cool. Const I guess I don't have to say null here. Yep, it works. And board ref, where are we using board ref dot current? Yes, we are using board ref here. Why are we using board ref here? Should legit like why are we using board ref here? We could just be using board. Why do we use board ref here? HTML element. Okay, it is the element to refer to the element. Const square ref use ref string initially null. Yep, initially null, and whenever we are setting set square here, we will do new square equals square index to key row and column. Here give new square and square ref dot current equals new square and import element here. Shit. Don't use a square here, we will use square ref dot current. Get the current one. Wait, that might actually be it. Square ref dot current. And yep, we don't even need this wrapper function. Const handle mouse up equal this. It's declared but never used. That is fine. Substitute a wrapper with nothing, like emptiness, and also do not call the function. Substitute square with emptiness. Cool. Okay, the number is going away, but the piece is not going away. The number is going away, the piece is not going away. Why is the piece not going away? Component dot use ref dot current, which also must be updated. Yes, cool, makes sense. Square ref dot current equals null, and piece component dot ref dot current equals cool. Cool, that is right. And do not display this thing. How is it now? Okay, the problem is, why do we see this thing here? Why? Mouse piece draggable. Okay, we have to do some changes in the HTML of this thing. Yep. Piece has to come inside a span, which will have class name, display float, there is a display which is like, which works here. Okay, I guess it is not display. Then what is it? Property. CSS. Position. Yes. Okay. Position. Fixed. Right, and top. Yes. mouse location is needed. Mouse location is needed. Mouse location is needed. Mouse location is needed. Which you can just like find out here. Yeah. Const. Should we find it out here? Yeah, we should. Okay, so mouse location would be mouse x set mouse x use state going to be a number or null value. Initially, let's say it is null, or it should always going to be a number. Cool. We can start at 0, does not matter. Very cool. Y use effect. Use effect takes in a function and event listener store the mouse positions in state to update to the right place. Wait, should I think we can do this without any JavaScript? Get mouse position in CSS. I think we can do this without any JavaScript. It is not possible. Oh shit, we cannot do this. Yep, shit, we cannot do this. We have to use JavaScript here. But this, okay. Update to the right place. Yep. And then here handler to update the mouse positions. Handle mouse move is a function that takes an EV with mouse event. And how do we get the mouse position? We already know from here, like this. What is this? What are these other things? Board. Shit. Get the mouse positions and set mouse x to ev dot client x and set mouse y to ev dot client y. And an event listener to update mouse to mouse moving. Document and event listener mouse move handle mouse move and remove event listener on page removal on page end. Okay, those two values are never used. That is completely fine. Return a function document dot remove event listener from mouse move handle mouse move fine. Here fixed top equals top equals mouse x pixels, and left from the left equals mouse y pixels. Okay, if this works. Okay, shit. Okay, we do have the piece here, but hmm, 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 hmm. The piece is not at the right place. EV is not being used. Console.log EV, let's say. And what are the other errors? Update mouse. Wait, shit. Update mouse position is never doing anything. Are we even using this function? We are. Mouse move. We should not use this function. We are not doing anything with this function. There is another error. Cool. What do we see here? As mouse top, mouse X and mouse Y. Console.log handle mouse. Console.log ev dot client X and console.log ev dot client Y. Okay. Hmm. 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 So what is the problem? Pixels. Pixels. We are giving the pixels there also in the same way here, like this. Yes, inside position. Top. Absolute inline. Yes. Top and all that stuff. Okay, wait. Mm, okay. Top and left are messing up. We are giving them the right pixel values. They are still messing up. Okay, 10 more minutes and it would be 3 hours. Today's stream was cool. It has been cool. Top. Okay. Class name depends on these things. If I change the default value to, let's say, 10, and here also 10, mouse X and mouse Y. Yes, we can like, let's say this one doesn't do anything. Mouse even. Okay, we still see this thing in the center of the board somehow. It should move with the mouse. It is not moving with the mouse. Let's give here custom values. Okay, values which are not changing. What do we see now? Okay, still with 10, nothing is in there. We give the values like this. Okay, and this is still there. Top. Okay, that is much better. Top left one. Okay, cool. We are seeing it at a better place. Let's say 20 pixels can be written as top 5. That is fine. Okay, cool. And now we just make this internal number variable, which is mouse X. And let's revive. Set mouse X to ev dot client X. Yep, that is wrong. Set mouse X to ev dot client X. Let's also print this so that we know what is happening, just in case. Top this many pixels, this should be working, but it is not working somehow. Let's say we do not update the variable, then again shit, we are seeing it, but it is not changing. 791. Why is top 791? 791. Top 10 pixels. Top 10 pixels should be working. Fixed top 10 pixels. Use ref, I think, is what we should be using, I think. Okay, use ref. Let's use ref. With this, we do not log anything. Const mouse y ev dot line y update const mouse x ref equals use ref number initially 10. User ref is not there. Use ref imported y cool, and after this mouse x ref dot current equals ev dot client x, substitute capital X with y. Cool. And we don't even need the state. We do need the state. We do need the state to make the re-render happen. Let's say we are user affair, substitute mouse x ref dot current pixels. Do we see 10? No, we shit. There is still error, or not error, but shit. Top is still not working. If piece is not equal to null, shit. Mouse x set mouse x equals date number 10 y. Do not use this here instead of this. Set mouse y ev dot client x update these two values and x. Yep, top is still not working. Okay. Here the top value given to this span is not working correctly according to the mouse position. The problem is not React state. It will not work reliably in Tailwind. Why? Because Tailwind generates CSS at build time. Makes sense, but this is dynamic. Okay, shit. So the correct solution would be to use this inside style tag and not Tailwind. That is messed up. tile tag. Inside this top is mouse X and left is mouse Y. That works. Okay, shit. Okay, that is something that is okay. When I go right, top should be the other thing. Top right now is X, which is shit, yes, which is like wrong. Okay, now much better. Now this is like much better. Shit. There is a lot of re-rendering that is going on. Use state. I think I should not use this inside here. We should not use this as use state as a state variable because this is causing a lot of re-rendering, I guess, and causing problems. Oh, this is taking like 40% of the GPU. But we do need a re-render. That is very good. Pretty cool. Okay, let's say y minus 10 pixels and this thing also minus 10 pixels. Close enough. Minus 15 pixels, a bit to the left. A bit more to the left would be cool. 25 pixels. Okay, a bit to the top. But it is not, shit, this is not going away. On clicking more stuff. Yep, this is like not very optimal, it seems. Okay, but for today, this would be it. 3 hours. Yep, for today, this would be it. For the stream, we made the board. We can move a piece. We just have some more stuff to do. And the front end would be almost complete. Thank you for being here. Bye.